Welcome to Guided Soul Reflections with Purnima and Sangeeta, a sacred space where our healing energies come together in conversation about the spiritual journey and awakening. Our hope is that it becomes a part of your everyday life. Hi, my name is Purnima. I'm a spiritual mentor, healer, Reiki practitioner in training, and an Akashic Records reader. From a childhood of carrying masks, pain, and responsibilities, to building a career in the corporate world, to being called inward through illness and awakening, my journey has been about remembering. Today, I guide others on that same path of healing, truth, and coming home to themselves.
Hi, I'm Sangeeta Diwan, a spiritual mentor, an Akashic record reader, energy healer, and a rapid transformational therapist. I know the pain of grief, heartbreak, and emotional trauma because I have lived it. And now I work with people who are suffering and looking to break free from old patterns to take their power back. Looking forward to guiding you to heal, transform, and thrive.
So, have you ever felt caught in the in between? No longer who you were once were, but not yet sure of who you're becoming. That's the heart of what we call unraveling. For me, it felt like standing in front of a mirror and not recognizing the person that I was looking at, or like a puzzle that the puzzle of my life that once seemed complete, suddenly crashing to the floor in more than 1,000 pieces. It can feel confusing, painful, and even lonely. But the unraveling is also where something deeper begins. It's where our old masks start to fall away, so the truth of who we are can slowly be revealed. Sangeeta, when you hear the word unraveling, what does it bring up for you?
Oh gosh. It's a lot in terms of when I was thinking when we are going to talk about it. For me, unraveling is about breaking open. It's about just, how you feel the life is. Um, it just suddenly come to an halt and it breaks you open, be it through depression, through loss. And for me, it has happened many, many times. And you know what? When we were talking about awakening stages, and in my experience, the awakening doesn't happen just once, it happens again and again. And I feel, especially this particular, when we are talking about unraveling, it has happened many times. And every time there's a hidden part of me that was revealed through a lot of pain, through immense pain. And how I saw unraveling, first time I felt what I could, and I go back and remember, was in 2009. And it was through depression. And it was like, I was thinking, I'm doing everything right. Yeah, when you're growing up, you have these dreams. One day you'll get married, you'll have kids, and you'll do this and that. And for me, dream was taking care of my family, not wanting to work because I wanted to focus on my family and my children. And I did that, and they were growing older. But somewhere there was some part of me was asking, I'm not feeling fulfilled. Is that it? you know Being a daughter, being a wife, being a mother, and is that what life is all about? And somewhere I was feeling, no, you have to dig deeper. This is not it. Yes, it might be it for a lot of people, but I suppose, you and me, when we talk about, our souls are guided to go so much more deeper. And unraveling is all about, not worried about what is happening, but allowing it to happen.
Hmm.
And it's a weird kind of analogy if I give to you. It's like sometimes universe present you with the challenge, with the, like, for me it was depression, and I was thinking, if I'm depressed, then how will I take care of my children? And I remember sending them to school and crying, all those 6 hours, and then putting a brave face on as soon as they come back. It's like, yeah, mom is okay. I'm like smiling and happy and asking them how they're doing, and then starting to do all the chores of taking care of them and all of that. What they didn't know, or anybody knew, not even my husband, that I was crying for 6 hours, breaking down and saying, okay, what is it? This is something, there is something more to life. I was not getting any answers. But I suppose I feel like universe brings you an envelope, if I can give an analogies, and on top of it, it's written, a loss or depression or your old self dying. And most of us are afraid of opening that envelope and saying, okay, no, we don't want to go there.
Mm.
And for me, I have found, every time I have come across a challenge, I don't know what is in my soul that is so courageous. It says, okay, let's open it. Let's open it. And I don't know what it entails.
Mm.
I don't know how it's going to look moving forward. But I want to know what is this about. So I think for me, depression was about, okay, what is this about? I want to know the answers. I want to get over it, and it wasn't that easy. It was 3 months down the line. And I remember wanting to give up on my life as well. And the only thing that stopped me was my children were very, very young. And I was like, how can I do that to them? What will happen to them? Who can take care of them? And then when I opened the kind of envelope, and I started to take myself apart, you know, like, okay, if I'm falling, let me fall apart totally. And then I will figure it out how to put myself back, you know. And I think in that process of me allowing myself to break down and break open, um, I started to find parts of me which was lost, which was, this Sangeeta who was very bubbly and who was very joyful and who wanted to live life, on her own terms. I remember her growing up, and slowly her dreams, her desires were suppressed by other people's negativity and fear of, no, but why does she want to do something different,
Mm.
something big? And people telling me, no, you can't do this, this is not possible.
Mm.
All those parts were coming up and questioning me. What did you do to those parts? They're still alive in you. Are you going to have a look at that? So a lot of things were happening. So unraveling for me was quite messy. It was painful.
Yeah.
Um, but I think at the end of that, when I did that, and it was a couple of years process, and we'll share, pieces of that in other podcast episodes as well. But at the end of that, I always think, whenever universe bring you that envelope and you open or not, when you open it and you go through that challenge, there's
Mm.
always a gift. There's
Yes.
always a gift at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I said, brave people can go through it and saying, okay, I want to figure this out,
Mm.
not knowing that there's a gift,
Mm.
but I just want to go through life and want to know the answers. So I think that always have been my process, be it when my husband was diagnosed, be it when I was young and I was going through a lot of difficulties. It was the courage in me and saying, I want to face that.
Mm.
I want to face that fear. I want to face that challenge, rather than saying, I want to close my eyes and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know the other side of it,
Mm.
you know. And stepping into the unknown is quite hard for
Mm.
a lot of people. And I know, many of my clients, when they know a little bit of my stories and they ask, and I just say, you know what, it's about feeling the fear and still saying, hey,
Mm.
I still want to go there, because
Mm.
somewhere in my soul there was a knowing that I will I will find something out. I will figure this out. Maybe this part of me needs to be embraced. It's been suppressed for too long. Maybe there's a new part of me need to be birthed. I don't know, but
Mm.
I will go through it. So, all the emotions I have gone through, grief, sadness, confusion, loneliness, that I still feel at times after losing my husband. But you know what? I allow myself to feel those fears, feel those pain, and say, okay, I know I will come out of it.
Mm.
Um, and that faith, I think, keeps leading me to somewhere beautiful, So that's, yeah, I don't know. That's what it means to
Yeah.
me.
Gosh, there's a Yeah, thank you again for sharing that. There's a lot. Yeah, we'll just take a moment to reflect on that because I'm sure, when listeners will be listening, um, people are going to feel and resonate with, maybe with all of it, with some of it. I certainly know people in my life that, oof, have felt that. I've felt it when I was younger, much younger, but I know people that have, felt it recently, and it's one of the hardest things, and to give someone hope and believe that there is light at the other end of that tunnel um, is one of the hardest things. But the example that you've provided, you've walked through that, and you've not walked through it once, you've walked through it in many different ways. Um, and it does ask for some courage and trust that you are being guided, and this is when people reach that unraveling moment, they need to remember that just call on your guides, call on God, call on whoever you believe in, to help you through that process and surrender to it. Because the more you're going to fight it, the harder that unraveling is going to be. So thank you, Sangeeta, for sharing that. That's yeah. Oh,
But you know what? That was all about me. But I want you to share what does it mean for you? What does unraveling mean to you, and how have you experienced in that in your
mm. So I was again, we've both obviously been reflecting on the topics as we getting into it, and yesterday as I was doing some prep around it, this analogy came through, and it was so clear. It's our whole lives we create this. We're putting this piece of puzzle together. Little, my career here. This is who I am. This is what I look like. This is what I sound like. Sister, mother, well, aunt, daughter, granddaughter, husband. Work colleague. All of it. You create this massive puzzle, and then one day you sit there and you're like, oh, okay, this is who I am. When people ask you, who are you? That's what you tend to describe yourself in,
yeah.
in that, I'm a, digital product manager, or I'm a marketing manager, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's how we define ourselves. And for me, the unraveling is one day that puzzle that you've put up on the wall and you're so familiar, looking at it often, falls on the floor and shatters into, many pieces. And it's then understanding and looking at this and understanding which pieces. So all of a sudden, there's nothing. You don't know what the picture is. You can't make any sense of it. Pieces are missing. Seems to be some new pieces that have come through in the process, and you're trying to now decide. Okay, well, all of those things that I've said to myself, and I've put so much of time and grooming and effort in perfecting, um, which is all an illusion, right? Even that idea of myself and idea of all of those labels, beliefs, ideologies, when it comes from a place of pain as well, and masks, because you're trying to protect your environment, you're trying to protect yourself. They they sort of created from a place of fear. So
Mm.
they are never going to be solid. And all of a sudden, you have to look at all of it, and you basically it's almost like you're just naked and raw, and you have to look at yourself, and where you thought, you gave yourself this idea that, oh, I'm so empathetic. No, you were not empathetic. Yes, you are, Purnima, but you also were the extreme of that empathy. And that, so it was a trauma response. It wasn't the healthy version of empathy. Um, the perfectionist, the control, the ideas that I was, I love people, I love my family, and I want the best for them. Yes, I do love them and I do want the best of them. But the fear was actually me controlling them because I didn't want to feel pain. So if they're not in a healed space, or if they're not doing well, then I'm going to get hurt and I don't
Mm.
want to suffer. So under the guise of love and care, and it's not to say that the love and care is not there, but again, if it's coming from fear, we project it differently, and if it's coming from love, we project it
Mm.
differently. So I'd say, so for me, that's, I guess, if I'm going to use an analogy, that's the analogy that resonates. And then once you, to the point that you made, that as you walk through the experience, whatever that is, grief, loss, pain, and there's many, many examples, right?
Mm.
You then start seeing some magic, a little bit of light here, something different. And then the moments of clarity just come like this. And then you're like, gosh, I get it. I get it. And then you're trying to put a whole new piece, this whole new puzzle together. Um, and yeah, so I'm going to read, I was deciding if I was going to read an excerpt from this poem. I see it was a channeled poem actually during my unraveling, and I'll share the full version on Instagram. But I'm just going to read a piece. So sorry, just my
Sure.
eyes are going to be looking at the screen a bit. Give me a second. Okay, so a stranger. Okay, so around me, I feel the carnage I'm causing. I try to handle moments of difference with grace, but I have no clue. I've hardly ever had an opposing view my whole life. As a child, I hardly had an opinion because opinions did not exist in our household. We never debated. I grew up a people pleaser. I hated conflict. I went out of my way to avoid it. I orchestrated a whole life, a whole persona that would make the Stepford wives envious. I relabeled it as empathy, caring, kindness, being the amazing sibling, friend, partner. Now I see through the masks. And it's hard for me and the people I love. I know I may be hurting them, not deliberately, but I am. It's not their fault. I woke up. So I'll just
Wow.
pause there. So yeah, that's the unraveling stage, I think. Uh,
God.
yeah.
Very, very powerful. And I think I'm glad you read that because what it reminded me of as well, I was the opposite. I wanted to question everything, but I was suppressed because I was inconvenient to
Mm,
a lot of people around me because
mm,
when I could see through certain things that was going on as a young child, um, they just assume, how would I know? I'm a 14-year-old and I'm telling my mother or somebody else that what you're doing is going to create a lot of problem later on or it's not the right thing. Why would they listen to me? Because clearly I haven't lived life and I didn't have
mm,
experience.
yeah.
And then, of course, then you hide that side of you because it's not being loved or appreciated, although it's been, you're named as a troublemaker kind of thing, then you avoid that. And then you become people pleaser, and then you're too kind to people and everybody else, and go out of your way to do things. And what I discover as well, I think, in last 4 years, 4 5 years of my life, which was the most challenging one, is like people were taking advantage of my kindness. They were thinking I am this naive person who is just always going to be there, no matter what they say, what they do behind my back.
Mm,
They were trying to wear those masks in front of me and thinking I don't know.
mm,
But what they didn't realize, I could see it, but I still wanted to be kind to them because I could see when people are not nice to us,
mm,
yeah, they are going out of their way to hurt us, that they are already hurt.
yeah. Yeah.
Hurt people hurt
Good
others,
people. Mm,
and yet I was not brave enough, or yeah, brave enough to say to them, hey, I see you. I see your BS
mm,
kind of thing.
mm, mm,
I was just going with it kind of thing. And I think I gave them the wrong impression that maybe I don't know what's happening. But because I didn't want to cause a stir up, I didn't want to question, because then if I question, then I am the one who is a problem,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But now I think, there's a lot of things that unravel in our lives and when we go through it. So I love what you read. And wow, what a powerful thing. I love your analogy of puzzle pieces falling apart, and that happens to us again. That's kind of death and rebirth,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dying of our old self,
Version.
creating a mask, old versions. And when it happens, it's very painful.
It is,
It's
yeah.
very
Because we
painful.
so
But
again, it's that idea of attachment, right? And we attach to versions of ourselves. And
yeah,
I think the awakening journey in its entirety is actually teaching us that, you know, you need to detach yourself, not detach yourself to the point that you don't, you haven't got connection, because connection and detachment are two different, they differ. Um, but detaching yourself from labels and constructs, because the moment we do that, we allow freedom and we allow flow and we allow things that we never thought was possible. And I know we've talked about it in each episode, it always comes, but
and it will always come because
yeah,
it's part of our life.
it is.
But one thing I love what you said, being an empath, but the opposite side of it.
Mm, mm,
And I truly, that really resonated with me because I
mm,
think I was like that because I could feel that they are coming from pain and hurt.
mm, mm.
I was an empath, didn't want to cause them any pain, any more pain.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I realized by me being there, I was hurting myself.
Mm,
I was causing more pain to
mm,
me,
mm.
but because I was too caring to people, and that was detriment for myself. And I really
Yeah,
resonate with that. And now, going through this awakening and spiritual journey, isn't it, Purnima? It's all about bringing back to balance,
yeah.
bringing us back to saying,
Balance,
okay,
balance.
yes,
Yeah,
love is great,
yeah,
care is great, empathy is great, but have that balance of
yeah.
how much you give.
Yes, yes.
You can choose who to give,
Mm.
you know, and how much to give,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's a beautiful way of looking at life, and making mistakes and learning and growing,
yeah, yeah.
all is part of life.
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
God. Okay, so I think this is a good time to maybe give some tips, some soul tools and guidance based on uh, tools that we've used and continue to use. I mean, this journey isn't there's no full stop. So these are practices that Sangeeta and myself use. So I'm just going to talk you through them. So when the unraveling feels overwhelming, and it can feel extremely overwhelming. Um, one of the tools is a grounding anchor, and you may have heard of it. It's the 5 4 3 2 1 senses practice. So it's coming back to the present. It's always bringing us back to the present, because when we're in the present, we are grounded, we anchor ourselves. Whereas if we start thinking about, gosh, I've left this version of myself in the past, or this happened in the past, or in the future, or how is this going to play out? We've lost control. We have no control on the past. It's done, and we have definitely no control over the future. So the grounding anchor is really useful. So for our listeners, when you're doing the grounding anchor, look around you, wherever you may be. It's really good to do in nature if you can, but even if you're in your home, in front of your desk at work, take a few minutes, look around you, name 5 things you can see, then notice 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and finally 1 thing you can taste or simply imagine tasting. This brings you to your present moment, reminding you that you're here and you're safe. So it's making sure that your nervous system, calms down, and your root knows that you're safe. Right, that's the key thing. The second one, which is really powerful, words. Again, my husband Priyesh always talks about the power of words and the language. We've talked about it before, the language that we use. Um, so mantras or affirmations, they are energetic frequencies that we're putting out there. So use them, write them. The more you repeat them, the more powerful. You may not be able to see it just because you don't see what's happening. It doesn't mean that there isn't something powerful happening in the background. So this affirmation or mantra, whatever resonates, is I'm safe, I'm held, I'm becoming. And you can whisper it to yourself quietly. You can write it down, repeat it when you're feeling, when you're feeling a bit unraveled. And just again, another reminder, you're not falling apart, you're not lost, you're just in the process of becoming and remembering. So thank you.
How beautiful is that? Wow. I was just saying it, whispering it to myself,
I
Purnima,
saw.
and it felt really good. I felt really, really good. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, well,
Good.
thank you very much, Purnima. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do an activation for all of you, my
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful listeners. And just I want you to take this moment for yourself, but do it only if it's safe. So if you're driving, please don't do this part. You can do it when you get home, when you're safe, when you're sitting, on a bed or a chair comfortably. That's the part. So please, if you're driving or using any machinery, please don't do this. Okay. All right, now, Purnima, I want you to be as well, be part of this activation. And I want all of you to just take a deep breath in and out. And just make this moment for you. So sit comfortably or lie down. If you're able to close your eyes, please do. If not, just lower your gaze. And just take 2 more deep breaths in and out. And one last time, take a deep breath in and out. Now, in this state of calmness, I want you to picture yourself holding an old story that you have carried, holding inside you. Maybe it's a belief, a role, or an expectation. I really want you to locate the energy of that old story. Where is that in your body? Feel that energy. Locate it. I want you to feel the sensation of it. How does it feel? Does it feel tingly? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel lighter? And whatever it is, have the intention of releasing it today. So I want you to imagine that energy flowing out of you, going anti-clockwise, out, out, moving up above your head and coming out. And now you're putting that energy in your hands. I want you to feel the weight of this old story or belief. And I want you to think and feel, how heavy does it feel? And are you ready to let go? So if the answer is yes, if the answer is that I don't want to carry this anymore, so just whisper it to yourself. Say, it's my intention to let go of this burden, let go of this old story that I have carried for many, many years. I release, remove, and clear this from my energetic body. And now I want us to replace that energy with a beautiful light, a light full of peace, joy, abundance. So imagine putting that weight down on Mother Earth and giving it to Mother Earth to just take it away because you don't need it. And bring your hands again back in front of you. Imagine there's a beautiful bowl of light, pure white light. That light is full of peace, of joy, of abundance, of good health. And now I want you to just imagine breathing in that light and going and replacing it where now the emptiness was caused. So take a deep breath in through your nose and imagine inhaling that beautiful white light that sits exactly where the other older energy was. And just let yourself, your body soften. And gently, when you're ready, take another deep breath in and come back to now and open your eyes. How was it for you, Purnima?
Oh, it was, mm, firstly, thank you. I had been doing a meditation around the throat chakra, and these memories came up from just, it was a guided meditation. And, you know, it was this whole idea that you can't speak your truth because when you speak your truth, something bad's going to happen. You're either going to lose someone or um, you're going to be seen, like you said, as a troublemaker, or um, you may get slapped or something in the process. And I remember today when I was doing that meditation, I started crying. And it was, there's been moments in my life where I have actually lost people because for a long time, I haven't spoken my truth. And then I chose to speak it. And especially when it was so wrong and you just felt, I have to say this because if I don't say it, it's, and I felt there was obviously something left in my throat, and I felt
Lifting.
that release when you were doing this activation. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, guys, if you're listening today and you're in the midst of your own unraveling, know that you don't have to walk it alone. Both Purnima and I hold one-to-one sessions, spaces of healing, mentoring, and guidance to help you through the uncertainty of life, to release that this stage brings.
Yeah. So whether it's through the Akashic record readings, through Reiki, mentorship, spiritual mentorship, or energy healing, we hold space with compassion as you remember who you truly are. You'll find our details in the show notes if you'd like to connect more deeply. Thank you.
Wow. So, Purnima, for me, this whole episode, I know we keep releasing the heaviness as well when we are sharing our
Mm,
stories. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's like anything that we held back. And we really hope that through our podcast, a lot of people are connecting to our stories, and certain parts of them it might resonate. But for me, this unraveling has felt like finding those hidden parts of me when challenges come, you know, and accepting them. Like you said, sometimes they are not nice parts that come up, that we
mm,
have hit, kind
yeah.
of thing. But embracing ourselves and accepting all of it without judgment. And in those moments of when I'm falling apart or when I'm not feeling great, embracing myself fully. That's what for me it was. How is it if you have to put, sum up this episode, how do you
Sum
say
it up.
it?
Yeah,
Unraveling was
sure.
for you?
So again, I'm going to continue with the analogy of the puzzle. So for me, the unraveling has felt like rebuilding a puzzle. Some pieces I recognize, others I've had to let go, and the new ones keep appearing that I never even knew that were mine. So if you're in the midst of, unraveling, know that it's not the end of your story. The puzzle may have fallen apart, but the pieces are still with you. This isn't about fixing. And I think that's really important. Spiritual awakening, all of us, is not about fixing. It's actually about remembering who you truly are and the immense, immense power that each and every one has in us. The kindness, the capacity for compassion beyond our understanding. Um, and that's, if there's one thing I keep wanting to now message, in this podcast, is it's a remembering of how strong and beautiful each and every unique human being are.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
And remember, the unraveling isn't a detour, it is the path. If you're in this space right now, trust that even in the falling apart, something within you is quietly being rebuilt. And before you move on with your day, ask yourself, what am I being asked to release right now? And if this episode resonated with you, follow the podcast and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and take care. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.